back here on Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7, and talking about Hulk Hogan, remembering Hulk Hogan's career. Hulk Hogan who passed away this morning at the age of 71, and I mentioned there would be no WrestleMania without Hulkamania, and Hulkamania was created not in the WWF but in the AWA by the Gagne family, and we had to have this man jump on to talk about Hogan. And one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite personalities, one of my favorites in general is Mr. Greg Gagne, who joins us right now. And sir, sorry to keep you on hold. It's been an extremely busy show, but I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Well, I understand. I've been doing some TV stuff today, and I just took my girlfriend up to get a quick hamburger. The hamburgers came, and I got the call. I forgot all about it, and I apologize.
No.
Great to be back with you, David.
No, it's always great. And Mr. Gagne, you've been such a great friend to this show. And, I've been saying it. We now have WrestleMania 2 nights in a stadium. And I said you would not have WrestleMania without Hulkamania. And Hulkamania was created by you and your dad in the AWA. That's really where Hogan took that next step in his career. But just talk about the relationship with Hulk Hogan and what your father did for Hulk Hogan.
I was wrestling in Madison Square Garden, and Hulk was on the card that night. And I watched his match. He had not a very good match. And he came in the dressing room, and he was really down in the dumps. He said, "Man, I just don't think I can make it." And I said, "Hulk, why don't you come to the AWA and work with us a little bit? You're not that far away from being really good. You just need some help." And he said, "Would your dad take me?" And I said, "Well, sure he would. I'll go back and I'll tell him all about you and give him a call. Here's the number, and we'll go from there." So I go back. I told Vern all about him, and I said, "Geez, he's a monster. He's a good-looking guy, and he's out there, trying to be a bad guy, and he's not. He can be a hero of everybody." And he said, "Well, okay." So Vern waited, and about 2 weeks later, said, "Hey, I got no call." A month later, no call. 2 months later, no call. I said, "Well, maybe he doesn't want to come here." And then about the third month, Vern got the call, and he said, "Greg's been talking highly of you. Come on in, and let's see what we can do." And he had his first match, and it wasn't real good. So what they decided to do is they put him in 6-man tag team matches with Jim and I, and we led the way and shot him in the ring. And then Vern said, when you're down and you're coming back, you gotta show some emotion. Shake those arms, shake that body. And he started doing that and caught on with everything else we were doing in the ring. We had such great people here to work with, like Nick Bockwell and Ray Stevens. Right down the line, everybody was top people. So he learned quick and got over like a son of a gun, and became the big star that he is. And Hulkamania will always run wild in our neighborhood.
And for those fans who don't know, in the AWA, and especially in that feud with Nick Bockwinkel, there was Eye of the Tiger, the ripping of the shirt, the Hulkamania. That all started in the AWA.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it was funny because we were in Chicago in a 6-man tag team match, and Hulk did the Hulk up. And I told Jim, I said, "Grab his T-shirt up on top." We both grabbed it. We tore it off real slow. And we had the Horizon there. We probably had 18,000, 19,000 people in there. They just erupted. And after that, it was a tear the shirt off every time he got in the ring, and it worked. But he was genuinely a really good guy and a nice guy. And he listened and he worked hard. And, once he got so established in the AWA and we were really on a roll, he got the call from Vince, and Vince called him, and away he went. And it was unfortunate because he left not a very good taste in the AWA. Vince had him walk out when we had all our major cities, him in the main event, and he didn't show. So it really hurt the AWA. And then after that, he just started picking off everybody else. But I have no regrets about, or being mad about Hulk on that. He took an opportunity. He should have just, finished out his deal, is all I ever told him. But all in all, he's just a terrific guy. And it's a huge, huge loss for not only the wrestling community, but for everybody, because he was an icon, without a doubt. Outside the sports world, everybody knew him.
Do you think that Vince McMahon would have been able to go national with the WWF if it wasn't for Hogan?
No, not at all. He needed Hogan to do it. I mean, he was that iconic person that wrestling needed at the time, and he was the guy. And no, Vince would have maybe down the road. I think once you got Hogan, though, everything turned for everybody.
It really did. You look at 1984. That was probably the biggest transitional year. And then in '87 with WrestleMania 3, I think that was the final blow to the territory system.
Oh, it was spectacular. I just saw a little piece of it on a newsreel here, and it was a phenomenal feat picking up Andre like that. But that put Hogan over the top.
And I know hindsight is 2020, but do you think if Hogan was able to beat Bockwinkel earlier and get that championship, you think that would have helped in Hogan staying with the AWA?
Well, maybe with Hogan, but the long range thing is Vern was trying to hold it off till April. We had a big deal with ESPN was coming up. They wanted to do a national program, and Vern was going to have Hogan and Bockwinkel on that April card, and he didn't want to tell anybody because we had to keep a secret with ESPN until they wanted to release it. So if he'd have just hung in there till that April one, I think there'd been it would have been different. That's for sure.
Hogan, the biggest star in the history of pro wrestling.
In this era, I would say yes. When you go back, Dave, to and I'm kind of a historian, I guess, and maybe just because of my father. But when wrestling went on the network TV in Chicago, 1950, and in 1949, early 50, the DuPont network. Well, Vern had just come out of college and out of the Olympics, and Luthez, and you had Hunt Schmidt and Yukon Eric, and it was a pretty good crew that they had on national TV at that time. And for 10 years, that was the hugest thing in sports, was the DuPont network and those stars. The Tonight Show and On with Art Linkletter and all these other different celebrities that had him on TV. And so he was the first one that really reached out, started his isometrics and books and everything else. And he was the first wrestler that really stepped out into that era. And then, it kind of went from there. And then when Hogan came along, he took it to another level for this era. And the same thing. And he just became, well, what can we say? The greatest of all time, without a doubt. Maybe not the greatest wrestler, but the greatest performer and the greatest draw in all of professional wrestling.
Greg, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for what you and your dad did for this industry and for the man that we're talking about today, and that's Hulk Hogan. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
He was a good friend and a good guy, and I hope it didn't rub anybody the wrong way, but that's the way it is.
Thank you, Mr. Gagne. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. You take care and hope to hear from you again.
You got it. Bye-bye.